Matt and I are back with another Mock Draft Monday for you guys on this action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcasting Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you could find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave us a review on there. Really means a lot to us. And guess what? After you do that, join us on the Subtext platform and send us a screenshot of your rating and review on Apple and or Spotify, and you'll gain a chance to join our coveted listener league for this upcoming season. And guys, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started today. And guys, we are back on Mondays. We will be doing Mondays from now until the season starts with mock drafts for you guys. And today we are breaking down a mock draft Matt did. And Matt, I'm going to let you take it from there, brother.
Yeah, buddy. By the way, next week we go back to 5 days.
Yes.
We're with you Monday through Friday, every single day of the week, providing you with the best fantasy baseball knowledge out there. So please tune in. And without further ado, let's talk about my mock draft. So I drafted out of the 12th spot in a 12-man league. And pretty much what it was I had a hard time developing a strategy for this because essentially, no matter how I did this, I just wasn't liking my team, the flow, our normal draft strategy, things like that, because it was really hard. I'm going to be honest, like the normal usual suspects I would like to grab, like a top end outfielder at the top of the draft, wasn't there at pick 12. And honestly, to walk away with Jordan, which was like somebody I kept trying to work into my rankings, was just not feeling right for me. And ultimately what I decided to do, because I kept wanting to draft, I kept drafting this person, Trey Turner, on my team, but then feeling like I'm missing out on other talent down the stretch with picking Jordan, and I'm having to feel a little bit more obligated to do so, drafting other players essentially. And let me pull up my team. I can kind of give you a little rundown of what that roster looks like, and then kind of break it down from there. We're going to spend the first 10 minutes talking about this. Then Dom's going to give you a little bit of insight. And then last part, we'll go in and we'll kind of just rip apart my team and what parts we liked, what parts we didn't. So let's
guys, I'll tell you this now. Just Matt's team sucks. Nah, I'm joking. I'm just busting his chops.
Thanks, bro. It's all good. It is what it is. But anyway.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, but you suck. All right. So essentially, my first two picks were interesting. So obviously I went Trey Turner, and then I ended up getting Matt Olson. Okay, I like that best out of the 19 mock drafts I've done out of the 12th spot. And again, I kept trying to work in Jordan. I even had on sometimes Juan Soto would fall to me in certain drafts, but the team just didn't construct perfectly every single which way. And I feel like this is the best route. Not that I would pass on Juan Soto, but it's just a little bit harder to configure the team. By picking Trey Turner and Matt Olson at the top, it gave me more positional freedom now that I've locked up my first baseman and my shortstop. And from there, I ended up going from Matt Olson. My next pick was Elly De La Cruz and Mike Trout. So I was able to go in then and scoop up my first outfielder and pick up my third baseman. So now my first, third, and short are covered. I got stolen bases pretty much on lock. I got power 100% on lock. And yeah, I took a little bit riskier pick in Mike Trout. just based off of, his injury history over the last 2 seasons or 3 seasons. But ultimately, like, you got to look at him and treat him just like you treat sorry, Aaron Judge. And, when they're healthy, or even though that small amount of time they play, those 400 at bats seems to be the magic number for the two of them, 400 and change, they're going to be the most efficient for your team and put up just as many stats as players that played 500, got 536 at bats, right? So ultimately, I feel like I walked away with a great talent. And you just got to pray that when he gets hurt is more towards the earlier in the season and he's there for the playoffs. That is the only risky spot about taking Mike Trout and Aaron Judge at that point. But except I got to take Mike Trout in the 4th round, essentially. So I feel a little bit better about that.
Matt, can I ask you a quick question, brother?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask you a question about drafting from the 12 hole, because that's what this mock draft is kind of demonstrating here. Do you like the double tap? I know some people kind of get intimidated by the double tap. I know some people love it. I happen to love it. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it as you were drafting this team.
So, like, this year, I don't like it. I'm going to be completely honest. It's a lot harder than normal, and I'm usually pretty good at double tapping. What it does is it pretty much just forces you to take the guys that you want to take. And this year, just based off of the pitching cluster in the 6th round makes it really tough. The outfield cluster pretty much in the 4th round, especially when you're picking out of the 12th round, the 12th pick. There's a little bit of clusters of outfielders in the 3rd and 4th, because that's when you're got to really pick your picks in advance. And the 6th round with the pitching, it makes it very challenging for you to kind of construct a team if you don't pick the right first 2-3 picks, because then your team construction gets really wonky. So if you end up with the 12th spot, like, you really need to be careful and really be methodical and have backup plan after backup plan. Like, this is probably the 19th draft I've done out of the 12 hole where I actually felt like I have somewhat of a good team. And I don't even like this roster fully. And we'll talk about it at the end when we're breaking apart my team in the 3rd segment. But let me just burn through this because we're going to get through this. After that, I wind up going Freddie Peralta and Josh Lowe. Josh Lowe I liked. He really solidified, more of a consistency. Somebody that's going to stay healthy, batting average, stolen bases, a decent amount of power. I think he's going to hit about 25 home runs. I feel like he was like the baseline of it, that was going to really bring my outfield home. Then I went, Freddie Peralta, got my first pitcher, and I was like, okay, cool. He's my number 11th pitcher. I'm pretty happy walking away with him. And then, that's one way to start it. Then I was able to come back and I was able to go and get Jesus Luzardo. And I was like, okay, now I'm liking my rotation. I got a top 12 arm, and I got, my top 20 arm in Jesus Luzardo. He's my 17th. So I'm pretty happy, especially with that. My strikeouts are going to be there. The whip might be a little bit of the part that we're going to struggle with those two, but ultimately I feel like I got a nice start to my rotation. Then I scooped up Nick Castellanos, and I was like, man, I just locked down my outfield. My outfield is looking actually pretty tight. I like the 1-2-3 punch with those 3. And, you'll see you can see my team construction up on the board. And I feel like, okay, I did a pretty good job constructing it. Now, the only thing I needed to do then was get a second baseman, right? So then I actually did that in my next double tap, right? I got scooped up Sonny Gray, which, boom, rounded out with a more consistency in both ERA and whip, and still provided Case. And then was able to then go and round out my infield with Zach Geloff. And I feel like, okay, boom, I just added a little bit more punch to my roster, really boasted up the home runs, and boom, I think like, okay, cool. I really rounded out that team. So now I really started to get a little bit more heavy. I was like, okay, I need to scoop up a little bit more steals, because I felt like that was the one part that I'm pretty much lacking in, that would have put me over the edge. And I need another pitcher. So I scooped up Cole Reagans and TJ Friedel, and I was like, yo, boom, Friedel, stolen bases, boom, got a little bit more, K's in my roster, possibly even a stud pitcher, getting Cole Reagans in essentially the 11th, I feel like was a steal. I don't think I'm going to be able to get him this cheap in a month.
I think he's going to move up too. I think everyone in the industry loves him so much. He's just going to move up.
Way too much. So let me power through this. Then I ended up scooping up Kenley Jansen and James Outman, rounded out my UT, and also picked up my first closer. Then went into, bolster up my rotation. I got Bailey Ober, and I was like, yo, let me just get this closer before nobody else is there. And that was Jose Leclerc. Then I finished up my roster real quick. I'm just going to read it off. Nestor Cortez, Jonah Heim, Jackson Holiday, 100% going to make the roster and be a stud this year. Taj Mahal, Bradley, Jared Kalenic, Logan Allen, and Clayton Kershaw was my last pick that isn't on here. Stash and then pick somebody off the waiver wire. And now you add in Kershaw into this lineup come, June or pretty much after the All-Star break and have fun playing my rotation. Even if Reagan's busts, I can easily slide in Kershaw come that time. And then you're going to have a tough time facing me come playoffs. But with that being said, guys, we're going to come back here, but we got we got an ad for you.
Guys, get started on your resolutions with Factor. So you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready to eat meal delivery takes out the stress of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, and veggie, plus more. Over 55 weekly add-ons. You'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Stress less over meal times in the new year. Factor's no prep, no mess meals, free up time otherwise spent shopping, cooking, cleaning up. We all know how that is, right? No more wasting any of that time. Not only does Factor offer fast, simple solutions when I'm too busy to cook, they also help me stay on top of my goals with offerings like Protein Plus and Keto. I can stay on track. This is definitely going to come in handy in the new year, especially when you're trying to stay more fit. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50 and use the code LockedOnMLB50 to get 50% off. Guys, that's right, 50% off when you use the code LockedOnMLB50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnMLB50. And once again, you get 50% off with that, guys. And guys, real quick, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And guys, lastly, but this most importantly, and it really means a lot to Matt and I, if you take the time and, Matt and I were officially introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on Subtext, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. Dive into the offseason with Matt and I as we provide our tiered rankings with over 100 outfielders and starting pitchers. We have prospect insights, sleepers, breakouts, busts, and we're giving out personalized draft grades. If you guys are doing mock drafts, real drafts, anything that you need a grade or opinion on, make sure you get us on that. If you got, once again, you got those burning questions, we got the answers as the season unfolds. Rely on us for dynamic content. Get real time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up alerts, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to victories begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience with Matt and I. All right, that is a lot here. Matt, any last thoughts here or anything that you want to add before I hop in and give my opinion of your draft?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this, for me at least, I feel is the most challenging. And I really recommend, really anticipating the double tap at the end. You're not going to start off with, better yet, I haven't done out of the first spot. I tend to pretty much feel it's a cheat code, but I think after doing the 12th spot, I feel like the double tap needs to be really evaluated to see what's going to be the best path to greatness. And what's the most efficient way to draft your lineup. But ultimately, I feel that you could build a good team. You're just going to have to really, really be methodical in thinking about it. And again, have your backups and know who you're comfortable with, because that's what you're going to have to do. But Dom, now give me your opinion. Tell me what you do different. And, I'll chime in and see if I have to defend myself at all.
Yeah. So, but before I actually dive into your team, I do want to say one thing about the double tap. If you're drafting from the 12 spot, because that's kind of what we're getting into here. When you're drafting from the 12 spot, if you have if you know one of the guys that you want to pick, and let's say you have a minute to pick, still spend that whole minute thinking about the second guy you want to pick. And that's one really big thing that I wanted to say about drafting from the 12 hole. But you know what? We're going to hop right in and kind of going to break down what I think of Matt's team here. Overall, if I had to give it a grade, if we're doing our grading system, I'm going to go with a strong B. I like it. I love the Matt Olson, Trey Turner 1-2 punch. You kind of get a little bit of everything with the both of them. I think the Matt Olson batting average, going up is a real thing. I think he's a legitimate 260 hitter with the amazing power, great counting stats. Trey Turner, what we saw in the second half is the real Trey Turner. So I think he's going to have a monstrous season. So you kind of get the best of both worlds there. I love Ellie De La Cruz in the third round. I am taking him in the third round everywhere I can get him. I know it's such like a scratch off, but even if Ellie is 75% of the guy that we think he's going to be, I think you walk away very, very happy. Then Mike Trout, this is kind of where I look at my rankings, and yeah, Mike Trout is the pick there. I don't know how much we can rely on Mike Trout, but it's hard to not want to take him, especially with the great price on him. So now this is kind of where we get into, your starting pitching a little bit here. And I really want to take a look at this rotation and kind of, analyze it. I love Freddie Peralta. I think Freddie Peralta is absolutely amazing. But I have him ranked high too. I have him as my 12th starting pitcher, I believe. I moved Freddie Peralta down to 14th because that's the thing. I actually don't like him as a 1, and I actually wanted to make sure my rankings reflected that. All the upside in the world, honestly, could be a top 10 starting pitcher this year if he really figures it out. He's still young enough to. The way I talk about his I think it was 11 starts last year. He was absolutely dominant. The ERA was crazy. Nobody could hit him. Monster strikeout totals. I think he can stretch it out for a whole season. I have faith in him. But see, this is where I would have liked the second starting pitcher to have maybe been a little bit more safer, where Jesus Luzardo is another guy. He reminds me of Freddie Peralta, just maybe a little bit less talented than Freddie Peralta. But Jesus Luzardo is such a scratch off because he did give us, pretty much the full season last year, and the ERA was kind of high, kind of faltered a couple spots throughout the season. So I would have liked to short him up with somebody a little bit more safer. This is where I go to my starting pitching tiers. Who do I have in that tier with Luzardo? I have maybe somebody like a Framber Valdez, or who else do I have right near him that's a little bit more safer? Even maybe a Joe Musgrove. Just somebody that's good, that I know what I'm going to get with them. And even if he go a little bit higher, and if he we're able to snag a Logan Webb, who may not have been there at the time you picked, just throwing out names of what I would have maybe done differently there. If I was taking that, I would have liked a little bit more sure starting pitcher 2 to go with the Freddie Peralta. Let's keep things pushing here. You really just did a good job filling out this roster. I think you got a great deal on Josh Lowe and Castellanos. I think they were both bargains, 2 top 30 outfielders in a 12-man league to finish out your outfielders. I think that's very good. Kind of shored up a little bit of the question marks there with Trout. We know Castellanos stays fairly healthy. Josh Lowe has shown health so far in his career as well. And then you move into the rest of this rotation. Sonny Gray was the rotation stabilizer here. I know I've been throwing out that term a lot. If you guys have been listening, love the Sonny Gray pick. Love the Cole Reagan's upside too. But then as we kind of go down, I love Bailey Ober. I'm a big Bailey Ober guy. I think he's going to be fantastic. I hope Nestor can bounce back. You get the Taj Bradley and the Logan Allen. I think you kind of went risky there. I think maybe on that bench, I do like the Kershaw pick. You throw him on the IL and he can come back and be, fantastic. But maybe instead of Logan Allen and Taj Bradley, you change out one of those guys for, as I scroll down my rankings here, let's see who somebody I have in that range is. Maybe even like a Seth Lugo type. Just somebody who, you kind of know what you're going to get. I'm trying to find somebody else here that, kind of suits that bill. A Yu Darvish type. Not that I like Yu Darvish this year, somebody who I'm kind of lower on, but that type of guy. A Merrill Kelly. just a guy that, you know, you kind of know what you're going to get. It's not such a huge lottery ticket, especially in a 12-man league. You're not really going to find those guys everywhere. But you know what, real quick, as before we dive into the rest of what I think of Matt's lineup here, we have one more quick ad for you guys.
Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, American #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring, the best seats on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. FanDuel has so many ways you can end the season with the W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet with a first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook of the NFL. All right. Thank you, guys. So we are in the last bit of this, a lot less talking and stuff that has nothing to do with fantasy baseball. We're in the last turn of this. Dom, finish up, and then I'm going to go over where my mistakes were, in my opinion, how I would have improved on it, and then based off of my improvements, then you can kind of give me a grade if so on and so forth happened.
Yeah, of course. The last only thing I think I really didn't hit on is your utility hitters. I'm a big James Outman guy. I love James Outman. I just hope the Dodgers don't Dodger him. And if you're new here, if you're not familiar with the Dodgers, they like to kind of like baby guys. Don't let them just, you know, go through the slumps and play every day. I could see Outman getting kind of platooned maybe, but I just let him play every day, and I think he'll be fine. TJ Friedl is somebody I still want to deep dive on. As I was, me and Matt talk every day. We're best friends. And I see the TJ Friedl pick, somebody not that we haven't really talked about in depth. So I was like, let me deep dive on him a little bit. 18 homers, 27 steals last year. The counting stats were okay. Kind of really just depends where he's going to hit in this Reds lineup. He's pretty quick, pretty fast guy. So I think the steals are legit. The power, it doesn't really show a lot of, power statistics, never really has been a big power guy. So I don't think there's room to grow in the power department. I think he kind of stays put, maybe even regresses a little bit there. So a 15 home run, 30 steal season from, your utility bat is not bad at all.
With a nice batting average.
Yes, that you literally see we're in sync, because I was going to just bring up that, all his underlying stats show that he's actually pretty good for batting average too. So I think he could get anywhere from 275 to 285. I think that's going to be easy for a guy like Friedl, prime of his career, 28 years old, in that Reds lineup. That's going to be extra juicy. So TJ Friedl is a guy that I might have to move up in some of my rankings as well. But Matt, with that being said, you kind of wanted to jump in here, talk about, oh, by the way, Jonah Heim, didn't really talk about the catcher. I'm not a huge Jonah Heim guy. I know Matt loves him. It's a great lineup. I might have went other ways there, but once again, strong B for you, Matt, here. I really like the team. What would you have maybe done differently, and what would you suggest to all of our listeners if they're drafting from the 12th hole?
So there was maybe two things I probably would have changed. One, I missed out on Blake Snell. Yeah. I did not see that Blake Snell was still available when I picked Peralta. That would have been my pick. See, we're not perfect. I'm still getting back in the roles here. So if I would have swapped out Blake Snell for Freddie Peralta, followed it up with Jesus Luzardo, I think I would have had a better rotation just right off the bat, especially since Blake Snell is, my number 5 pitcher right there. So I would have been much happier with that pick. And then, you look at it and you go, my other one that I'm really not really thrilled about is honestly just more of the end of my bench, where you were commenting the Taj Mahal and the Logan Allen. The problem is that guys that are available around that time are not my favorite. So these are my 2 guys that I'm like, okay, these are my lottery picks. I like Logan Allen. I actually think he's going to be fine. But the Taj Mahal, I'm just a big fan of the talent. I want to see if it translates. If it doesn't after 2 starts, he's off my lineup. That's the bottom of my bench. I really don't care at this point. So at the end of my draft, and this is just a draft philosophy of Dom and I, we take our scratch offs. So he's one of my scratch offs. Honestly, and also in a league that I would have been in, would have had deeper benches. And unfortunately, I probably would have had to draft quite a few more scratch offs in order to round up this rotation. As a whole, this team, if I would have pretty much had Blake Snell and maybe waited to draft Jackson Holiday and picked a pitcher there where I did draft Holiday. Let's see who was available. Let's see real quick.
While you're looking, Matt, I'm actually going to say that I love Jackson. I love the Jackson Holiday pick. I that's one I didn't comment on. I would keep that exactly the same. The thing with Jackson Holiday is as soon as I will, I'll talk about something we haven't talked about. Colt Keith of the Detroit Tigers, third baseman, just signed a big extension with them. So that pretty much is locking him up for opening day because, teams get compensation as far as money and draft picks. Now, if you have a guy that's up on opening day, I believe he has to be on the 3 major or the 2 major top prospect lists, and he has to be on the roster all season. So a guy like Colt Keith, I could see the same thing happen with Jackson Holiday. Baltimore gives him a nice little 5-6 year deal, some big money for him, and then he's there opening day, bang. You just got a guy, whatever pick you did, I would say somewhere maybe like 200 or 150 in that 150-200 range. That's going to jump up inside the top 100, and you're going to have to take him as your starting shortstop. Just got that guy on your bench. So if you're drafting this time of year, get all the Jackson Holiday you can.
Right, like Cole Keith, like when we play our real drafts, like I like an 8-team bench, like an 8 bench, and like Cole Keith probably is my last pick of the draft. We're probably one of the few people on it.
We'll talk about him at a later date.
Yeah. Plus, also too, like you got to factor in, like, okay, he's a real scratch off because you really don't know how many innings he's going to pitch. I think max he pitches 120, and that's if we even scratch that. Like it might be more like a 96 inning season where like he gets shut down from like pretty much June to like Cole Keith. So
Cole Keith, the third baseman from Detroit.
Oh my God, I'm out of it.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought you were talking about Taj there for a second.
No, who's the pitcher from Detroit that just got the money?
Scooble?
Never mind, I'm out of it. Never mind. We're gonna just keep moving on. Just erase that. Like the judge says, you cannot use this evidence. Anyway,
yeah, I think you got mixed up because we were talking about Taj, and it's all good, brother. But towards the let's try to put a bow on things here. I do like the team a lot. It's a solid strategy. Not too many big changes, as you said. Maybe we kind of really went through all the changes on this team. I like where you're at. I actually did a draft from the 12 spot the other day that I liked, that we were kind of talking about. Maybe next week we'll kind of throw that one up there and we'll kind of see the differences and the different options. But I also do want to say that we do want to go through drafting from each different spot and kind of breaking down for you guys, what we would do different, what players we're targeting. But right now, if you are drafting this early, first of all, you're like Matt and myself, you're just one of those fantasy baseball addicts, which I know most of you guys out there are. But follow a strategy like this. Get your values on the Jackson Holidays, and I think Josh Lowe is a great deal in this draft. Bailey Ober is somebody that I absolutely love. Just stay locked on with us here. Join us on the Subtext platform. You're getting updates right to your cell phone there. You get all of the prospect as soon as they get called up. In season, off season, we're gonna have bust a lot of deep stuff for you. Our rankings are out already, tiered in every position. Multiple tiers. Any burning questions on your mind, ask us. So we got all of that for you over on Subtext. And you know what, guys, comment on YouTube. Let us know what you guys think about this draft. Let us know what you would have done differently. If you like the team, anything like that, we'd love to go back and forth with you guys. If you got any specific questions for Matt about why he did what he did, shoot us a message on YouTube. Join us on Subtext where we get back to you even 10 times faster as well. But Matt, before we head out here, anything else, brother?
No. Just be aware of the double tap of the 12. I'm actually excited to go do a number 1 pick overall. And hopefully we'll review that in a couple weeks. But with that being said, Dom, take it away, man. Get us out of here.
Yeah, guys, that's all for today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers and our new listeners. You guys, get us to where we are. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you're locked on for a new episode coming up probably tomorrow. Not 100% sure what we're doing there yet, but once we're back to 5 days a week, next week, we're going to have that very routine schedule for you guys, and we're going to bring you right into, draft day and make sure you guys are ready. But guys, until next time, see you.
Peace.